I just think social media is kind of rocking us to sleep.
Hello, professionals. Let me welcome you to our boardroom. In this room, we like to talk about problems in the business world from a practical standpoint. My name is Dr. Burks. I am one part of the Professional Consultancy, and I am an unconventional HR practitioner and enthusiast.
And I'm Dr. Ellison, also one part of B Professional Consultancy. I'm a veteran and expert in leadership and professional development.
Combined, we have over 3 decades of experience, and we enjoy helping you improve performance from the janitor to the C suite.
Dr. Burks and I have had some traumatic experiences because of workplace unprofessionalism, executive disengagement, and lack of accountability. We hope to leverage our experiences so that you can get better results in your workplace. The topic we'll discuss today is who you're listening to and how neglect of who you're listening to may cost you. That's a topic we can't wait to discuss with you today. We'll talk about how to know who to listen to. How does this impact you in the workplace or your personal life? What responsibility you need to take in this matter? And hopefully, we'll leave you with some things that you can do. We're all tracking by now, or should be, the impending possibility that the US may rid itself of the popular TikTok app. According to BBC News this year, AI fakes, abuse, and misinformation was pushed to young voters. And AP News reported that TikTok let through disinformation and political ads despite its own bans. While this isn't about TikTok today, but who we're listening to in general, we wanted to address this issue because one, here at Be Professional, we put a lot of effort into delivering quality information. Two, we noticed that seemingly the number of people delivering quality information has diminished. There's more people setting up cameras, microphones, people professing expertise and playing on people's emotions with hot topics is trending despite having real world experience and education. And three, we noted in our dealings that people are more and more depending on religious leaders, so called reporters, and podcasters to do the research and reading for them. I like to start with a quote. Isaiah chapter 28, verses 9 through 12, and it reads like this. Who does the Lord think we are? They ask. Why does he speak to us like this? Are we little children, just recently weaned? He tells us everything over and over, one line at a time, one line at a time, a little here and a little there. So now God will have to speak to his people through foreign oppressors who speak a strange language. God has told his people, here is a place of rest. Verse 13 reads, but they would not listen. So the Lord will spell out his message for them again, one line at a time, one line at a time. And verse 15b reads, the coming destruction can never touch us, for we have built a strong refuge made of lies and deception.
Mm.
And it is commonplace for Dr. Burks and I to start off with some definitions. And as we talk about this topic of who we're listening to, there's a few definitions that we definitely wanted to put out there first. The first one is misinformation. That is false or inaccurate information. The next one is disinformation, and that is false information that is intended to mislead. Deliberate misinformation. For example, we recently had elections, or during the pandemic, this may have been used by those in positions of influence to secure economic or political harm, which could potentially cause public harm. And then the final one, if you're not following us on our other platforms, we posted recently the word of the year according to Oxford, brain rot. This word traces back to 1854 and it describes a decline in intellectual standards. And of course, as I stated in 2024, it was the Oxford Word of the Year, and it refers to internet content that is deemed to be of low quality or value, or supposed negative psychological and cognitive effects that are caused by that content. Dr. Burks?
I always tell Dr. Ellison that I feel like I'm sitting in a classroom when she speaks because I kind of get lost in what she's saying. Um, so let me bring it back. So I think it is, I mean, you made a lot of valid points. I don't even know where to start. I love that you led with TikTok because Dr. Ellison and I talk all the time about people get their source of knowledge secondhand. So we can watch a video about weight loss, and people will put more focus and trust in a 5 minute video from someone who speaks like they know what they're talking about, or they're saying, oh, I read this, but they won't go back and fact check. And when Dr. Ellison and I were in school, one of the main things that we had to learn was not only check, make sure it's peer reviewed. What is the history at, like, how current? It can't be more than a few years old. We had to do so much work before we can use this source, before we can put it before our chair and it be deemed adequate. So we look at the reliability of a source, or we look at the consistency. So I actually pulled two, they're Oxford dictionaries, but I was very intentional with the snippet of the definition that I pulled out. So if I can take us a little sideways or left. So reliability, when people ask what reliability is, the formal definition is the extent to which an experiment, a test, or measuring procedure yields the same results on repeated trials. So going back to the example where I listed with Dr. Ellison and I, we had to make sure each piece of information we brought forth was reliable. That was imperative. So that is, if I went to Dr. Ellison and said, I think chocolate cake is healthier than red velvet, she's not going to just look and say, okay. If I know Dr. Ellison the way that I think I know, she's looking at calories, she's going to different websites. She wants to know, not to say that she doesn't trust me, but she wants to see if what I provided her has any consistency to it. Um, and then, or reliability to it, and then going to consistency. That definition was just simply harmony of conduct or practice with profession. So when you are gathering information, or when you are allowing people to pour information into you, are you taking it at face value, or are you making an intentional effort to make sure that you have properly embellished yourself before you commit any of that information to being fact or memory? So Dr. Ellison, I know I used chocolate cake and red velvet cake as an example, but what are your thoughts?
I think it's a very valid point that you bring up education. And I do think that education is important. And a lot of times when people bring up the topic of education, we think of formal brick
Mm-hmm.
and mortar college degrees and that type of education. But education can be self education. I talk a lot about being a lifelong learner. As you can see behind me, there are a lot of books. So, checking different types of sources, as Dr. Burks stated, education and position, I want to make sure that we state this here. Education and position do not equate to reliability. Just
Mm-hmm.
because a person goes out and gets a college degree in X topic, that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make them a reliable source, which is the reason why a lot of high institutions of education use the formula that Dr. Burks put forth. They want you to have peer review. They want you to check other sources. They want you to look at other studies to make sure that before you lock down on a reference or a source, that it's been validated, that that source is reliable, that you just didn't take one study or one word or one person's, you know, source of information at face value, because you could be limiting yourself in some information and setting yourself up for failure. So, both of us here are doctors, and we thought it very important to bring this here because who are you listening to?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And who you're listening to, it could be costing you.
Mm-hmm.
It could be setting you up for success, or it could be setting you up for failure.
Mm-hmm.
And as a veteran, information can be warfare. There
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of entities in the political and in the war field, in the military strategy, that spend a lot of time and money and research in shaping information to get a specific type of outcome.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think that that's not happening with mainstream media or some of these social media platforms. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, to get back to your point, Dr. Burks, I definitely like that you highlighted education and reliability. But I did definitely want to point out that a college degree doesn't equate to experience. And I did want to highlight something before you move on to your next point. I did read several articles recently, and I'll put them here in this video, that 1 in 6 businesses said um, that they were concerned about college graduates recently, and that 6 in 10 had already got fired. So of
Mm-hmm.
this recent class of college graduates, 6 out of 10 of them are getting fired from their jobs. So that is indicative that just
Yeah.
because you walk out of a school with a college degree, that doesn't make you an expert. That doesn't
Yeah.
make you, somebody that can just get on Instagram and you got thousands of followers and now I can just tell you how to go out here and live your life. You need to validate that these people have done enough of the background, get it from the mud before you just start allowing people to speak into your life. Dr. Burks.
And we mentioned a lot about being field experts. So when Dr. Ellison and I tell you about ourselves, it's not to brag or throw out accolades. We do introduce ourselves as doctors because that is something that we possess. However, being a field expert is just someone who is knowledgeable in that craft and that business, like whatever. It is just me or she simply saying that we have vetted. We have studied, not necessarily from a textbook, but we have studied trends. As you hear, Dr. Ellison just brought up facts about 6 out of 10 college grads have already lost their jobs. And truthfully, people look at it like they're college grads, so that's unacceptable. But some people are really good at writing papers and taking tests. There's so many loopholes now, not to discredit anybody's degree, but that a degree alone does not equate to expertise. And so there's a reason why we take it beyond just, I have a degree. Okay, but what else? What are you doing with that degree? Being a lifelong learner, like Dr. Ellison mentioned, means that you are taking this and then you are practicing it and continuously perfecting it. Dr. Ellison and I have doctoral degrees of business administration, hers with a cognitive leadership, mine with a cognitive HR. But what we loved about these degrees, so since we're talking about just simply vetting it, is that it was practical. So we had to take these elements and put something together and go out into the field, and to be able to show, we had to produce fruit for what we studied. So it wasn't just looking at prompts and writing a paper and presenting it. We had to go out and study. We had to make ourselves the experts of our topic, and then go from there. And obviously we successfully did that. But there are a lot of people who get on these platforms who have degrees who talk about absolute nonsense. and people trust it. I don't know if you've ever heard of the term, trust me, I'm a doctor. Um, but people do. It's like you're a doctor. So I'm trusting that this is the position that you hold or this is your area of expertise. And so if you tell me something, I'm assuming you're saying this with good intent. There are doctors out here that are saying completely mitigate any other piece of food from your diet but meat. Let's do carnivore diets, I'm sorry, and you'll be fine. You'll lose weight. And that may work for some people, but that's not something that everybody can do. But people buy into it automatically because there may be a couple of people who can vouch for it because it worked for them or it was applicable to them, and then it becomes gold. So, a scripture that I wanted to bring up, especially, going in this direction of the topic, is when we're talking about validity of what's being said. In the King James Version, 1 John chapter 4, verse 1 says, Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. So with this, you can take that to a whole another level, but people will present to you what they want you to believe. So if Dr. Ellison and I came on here and told you that professionalism is key, then we need to teach you. We need to put something before you to show you the different aspects of being professional. We can't just say you should be professional because it's professional. What does that mean? And so for you, we have a responsibility to teach you and present these us as being field experts and what we have done to build that confidence in you that what we are telling you, we have your best interests at heart and we genuinely think it can help you moving forward. Dr. Ellison, please tell me your thoughts.
Well, I'm so glad you brought up the field experience because I think that that is vitally important. And I think it's kind of a lost art nowadays to have that apprenticeship, to take what you learn, to take that college degree or that high school education or whatever field that you want to go into. If you want to become a plumber or an electrician, and actually go out and get your hands on and get some experience and listen to people who have that experience, and not just taking what people say and listening to everybody at face value. Take it from somebody that's worked on a couple of toilets, across their city or something like that before you start listening to it. And when I was in the military, one thing that they would have is Soldier of the Month boards and promotion boards. And what that means is that you would sit before a panel of senior leaders and they would ask you questions out of policy, regulation. They could pretty much ask you anything about the military, whichever branch of service you're in. They can pretty much ask you anything about your job, anything about the military, anything about going to combat, going to war. They could ask you anything. And so you didn't know what you were going to be asked. So how do you really study for something like that? But I think it was a good exercise because they asked you situational questions. So it's how do you take that book knowledge and actually put it into practice? Or how do you use that information in real time? And so, I think that was a good point you made, Dr. Burks, about having that field experience. And it seems like, nowadays we're listening to people and people want to have these high paying jobs and these work experiences. And they're listening to people like, hey, this is how you can go make six figures doing XYZ, but you don't have six-figure experience. And you're listening to people that don't have six-figure experience. They're making a career off of your emotions and your desires to accomplish something, but you may not realize the work that goes into acquiring and demanding that level of pay. And I think that that is so important, that everybody doesn't have your best interest. And as I stated at the beginning, there are so many people now since, post pandemic, that are putting a camera and a nice set of lights and a microphone in front of their face. Please, professionals, I am just encouraging you to be careful and to think about who it is that you are listening to. Dr. Burks.
So, taking that point, I also have another scripture, and it is from the second book of John, chapter 1, verse 8. This is the New International Version. And it says, "Watch out that you do not lose what we have worked so hard for, but that you may be rewarded fully." And so, using Dr. Ellison's example, there are people who are able to sit in front of a computer, utilize the internet, and tell you whatever you want. And so, you have to use your own discernment when you are taking in information, because there are people who are investing in things and they are taking their hard-earned money and time buying into somebody else's dream and getting scammed on a regular basis because you did not take the time to vet for yourself. Anytime, I don't care if it's buying a new deodorant or soap, let alone a house, a vehicle, or a timeshare, you should be as informed as possible when you go into that decision, because you have too much to lose. And it's not only about monetary things, but it's also about your time. That is invaluable. You can't get that back. But your resources, like, you are buying into somebody who is intentionally deceiving you. And then you become accountable and you become responsible of making or allowing yourselves to be misled. There's a lot of get rich quick schemes, tons of them out here. There are people that, oh, buy this $500 class and I'll tell you how I did so and so. And then you buy the class and they're not telling you anything differently than you could have got from Google. But because of the way they presented it, though, you look at the material things, the monetary things, and you equate that to success. In a post, gosh, I can't remember, it may have been like a month or so ago, and we were talking about qualifications. And I said the more that you acquire, the more that you can require. And that's because you are investing in yourself. And then that way you can go and demand more. So, like Dr. Ellison mentioned with this whole 6-figure salary, okay, I would love to win that mega million for that 1.7 billion. I promise you. However, I can't get it if I don't go buy a ticket. You know what I mean? So, or go play the numbers. But I think overall, this conversation is so critical, and it's not specific to a demographic of people. It's not specific to a business professional. It is not specific to a C-suite or a janitor. I think this is like, you have to be mindful. And Dr. Ellison knows there are people who are using platforms that address HR specifically, and they feed, I feel, in sometimes venom into people who are vulnerable, people who are at a crossroad in their careers. And then they are hopeful. They look at this person who's like, oh, I understand. I was there and this is how it turned out for me. And so they buy into it and they're clicking on the videos and they are investing their time and attention. And then they're going and practicing these things that was told to them when it was simply an opinion and recommendation. And then it doesn't yield that result. And now you're disappointed. You just entrusted someone who you don't know other than what you see online with the livelihood of your family and yourself and your bills and desires and wants, et cetera, because of what somebody else said. Dr. Ellison.
Can we talk, Dr. Burks, for us just a brief moment about the algorithm?
Mm-hmm.
Professionals, be mindful. Algorithm is a word in our day and age that we hear all the time. And each one of these platforms that we engage with has one. And most of them feed you more of what you are already watching and listening to.
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out. You are training your social media algorithm every day. What you are listening to and what you are watching, you are teaching your social media platform, give me more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge yourself to diversity of thought. Challenge yourself to listen to a perspective that doesn't necessarily agree with yours to
Mhm.
find the truth. There's something that the elders used to say where eat up the meat and spit out the bones.
Mhm.
Find what information is going to be helpful and useful to you, and that which is not beneficial to you or useful to you, then you spit that part out.
Mhm.
But these algorithms are designed to put you in an echo chamber. You're just going to keep feeding yourself more voices that sound like your own.
Mhm.
Everybody that's agreeing with what it is that you agree with. They're going to keep putting those voices in your ear, and they're not going to recommend opposing voices because these algorithms, these social media platforms are designed to keep you on there for as many hours as possible. And
Mhm.
so if you're interested in X topic, they're going to keep recommending X topic over and over. And if you like a specific train of thought, they're going to keep recommending specific people that have that exact train of thought to you. So just be mindful that in the day and age that we live in, and it's becoming even more challenging to kind of weed through that with
Mhm.
the as AI is getting more advanced.
Mhm.
There's a lot that I could say about that. Um, there's more to this world than just the United States of America.
Mhm.
We have friends and we have enemies.
Mhm.
And everybody is not your friend,
Okay.
even though they may smile in your face and get on the internet and empathize with your issues, your personal issues, your family issues, your workplace issues. And guess what? Opinions are like elbows. Almost all of us have them. So, I mean, don't take people's opinions and turn them into truthful facts. Take some time to think for yourself, study for yourself, and build a community of people of different backgrounds, different generations. Don't be so quick, and this is my advice, to write off the elders,
Mhm.
people who have experience. Why are we getting marriage advice from people who are on the internet popping balloons and stuff? Like, why are we doing that? So let's not be so quick to write off our elders and people who have lived a full life and who have experience. Now, they
Mhm.
may not be up on the latest and greatest computer software or the latest and greatest outfit or, who's trending on Twitch or, whatever social media platform. But we should be quick to listen to those who have lived in this world
Mhm.
40 and 50 and 60 and 70 years, those who have been married 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 years. What have they done to have a healthy marriage or a healthy relationship or to build a business or a brand or, what are those wise things that they have done? Don't be so quick to write off an apprenticeship. If somebody is successfully doing something with integrity
Mhm.
that you admire and they're not so quick to just try to get rich, find out what type of wisdom they have
Mhm.
and try to apprentice with that person. Build a community of people that are more diverse than you. And I know DEI is one of those words that people frown upon, but
Mhm.
DEI means people that have different types of abilities than you,
Mhm.
people that may be younger or older than you, people that work in a different background, come from a different place than you, have different experiences than you. Build a community that will help you to be your best and most wise self. Dr. Burks,
So can I tell you a story?
I love
I'm
stories.
okay. So Dr. Ellison and I, some time ago, gave you a little bit of our spiel, a little slight glimpse into our life and how we ended up where we are. And I was in such an unconventional place. I was a teen mom. I didn't follow the traditional track for school. And when I finally got to a place where I was stable, I said, okay, Erica, you've always been a scholar. Let's go ahead and do this. Told you all that I wanted to be a nurse. Quickly found out that wasn't my calling. And so I said, okay, well, I like healthcare. So if I could just get into a position where I can work in the facility, I can still be around it. I just won't have to provide direct care, right? So I called this school. I said, hey, get on the phone with someone, an advisor. And they're like, okay, well, what are you interested in? And I said, well, healthcare. And they're like, okay, perfect. Are you looking for an associate's degree or are you looking for a bachelor's degree? And I said, well, what is an associate's degree? They're like, oh, just 2 years and sign me up. So it is healthcare and it only takes 2 years. Perfect. Make it through the program. Graduation comes and I'm just like, okay, so what now? I guess let me look at some jobs that I can use this newly acquired associate's degree. And the career outcomes were a receptionist. And so basically, I didn't even need the degree to do the job. It was just some parsley on my resume. So then I said, okay, well, I didn't just go into debt to be a receptionist, no disrespect. That wasn't my goal for my career. So I said, well, I have this degree and it's so specific. So the only other option I have is to now have to get my bachelor's in healthcare administration. And I got maybe a year into that and I said, this isn't what I want. This isn't what I was expecting. I'm finding out and now I'm doing my research in hindsight, but I had to finish it because there was no way to transfer what I had done to another degree. And so I ended up with an undergrad degree. And while it still holds a lot of value, and yes, I was able to use it, I did my research after I invested my time. I did my research after I invested my money. I did my research after I made these sacrifices. And why? Because I trusted that advisor as the subject matter expert with my livelihood of my career. And in hindsight, I researched these people are getting bonuses. It's like recruitment with a job. They're going to tell you all the things that you want to hear because they need to fill this position. And so here I am going into it green and thinking that this person, like, I'm coming excited and green and I want to do something with my life. And I'm just excited to go to school because that was always my passion. And I did that. But I went into debt with something that I don't even use now. You know what I mean? And I didn't know better. I didn't know to research accreditation. I didn't know to research career outcomes, graduation rates. Um, what does the public say? Like, what is the notoriety of this school? I didn't know to do any of that until I went to grad school. And so I don't despise that experience because it taught me what I'm telling you now so I can speak from personal experience. And when I say the importance of vetting and looking for credibility in anything, because me not doing that and just simply taking somebody else's word for it, I spent 4 years of my life not pursuing what my passion was. So I can work in a healthcare facility. I didn't have to have a healthcare administration degree. Nothing wrong with people who have that. But what I'm simply saying is utilize, ask questions. Those aren't things that I had, that I didn't have anyone telling me to do that. I was a first gen college student, you know what I mean? And so if I can tell you any piece of advice from a firsthand standpoint, it is your livelihood. It is never, you can never take too much time becoming well informed because you will regret it. If you do not, you will feel betrayed and slighted if you do not. And also understand people have their own motives. I was told a long time ago, when you have two people in a room, it's either I eat or you eat. So whatever they have to do to make sure they eat, even if that means misleading you, you know the rest. So with that, Dr. Ellison, I didn't mean to hijack the conversation, but what do you think?
Man, that story is all too common. I can definitely tell you that for sure. But that just highlights my point even more about making sure that you have a community of people and elders and people that have college degrees that you can ask them about their experiences other than just that one advisor you have. I mean, that's a really good story that highlights the point of having a diverse, community of people that you can ask. And the whole point of us even bringing this topic to you is, as we're Dr. Burks and I are out and about doing our professional services, we see far too many people that have their lives taken completely off the rails because of the voices that they're allowing into their lives. It's who they're listening to that is completely derailing them. And it's because um, people present themselves as being trustworthy or being experts as they come across online. And yeah, I mean, some people have some bomb backgrounds and their
Mhm.
lights look good and their microphones are the top of the line. And that's just what we're doing nowadays. I mean, we have athletes and actors, and everybody has now gone on these platforms and they have podcasts and stuff now. But we really do, depending on what the topic is, need to be just, a little bit more mindful of who we're listening to and who we're giving our trust to. And I saw a really interesting clip with um, the host of Black Star Network, Roland Martin, and the rapper and actor T.I. And they were having a conversation, and T.I. made a comment about social media and how some people would rather hear really good opinions, but then they're very closed ears when it comes to hearing knowledgeable facts, and how social media today is lulling many of us to sleep. Dr. Burks.
Yeah, well, see, listen, the need. Well, I think the world has made its way to this place with social media and just all the thing, all the access to each other that we have. It has generated a need to be agreed with, and that need to be agreed with has made interesting opinions more valuable than knowledgeable facts. You know what I mean? And I think because sometimes people can have interesting opinions, and a lot of people may agree with them or, find it, you know, their perspective to be somewhat enlightening. And then someone come with a knowledgeable fact. Don't nobody want to hear that. Right. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that I just think social media is kind of rocking us to sleep. It is.
It's the truth. We are in a culture of agreeable people. No one wants to offend someone. No one wants to go against the grain. It's just like, it's not wise. It's not wise. I need people around me. Like, I can guarantee you, if I want some honest feedback, I know Dr. Ellison will give that to me. And when you're not used to that, it is difficult to receive it because it's just like, what do you mean I'm wrong? It is very easy for us to take on this self righteous mindset because who wants to be wrong? Who wants to admit that they made a decision or judgment call or pursued an endeavor and were wrong? And so that goes back to when we're saying people present themselves to you in whatever way that they want to. Because if I were to say, goodness, does this outfit look nice? Like, it's pretty, right? And I'm showing people, and they're like, yeah, and yeah, and this outfit, I knew it was a good investment because I look nice and I can wear this to multiple different places. And yeah, I got this dress from here. And then I go online, or you go online, and you look, and that dress is $700. I've gotten you excited about this purchase. I want you to justify me spending this money on an outfit. And so I'm building hype. And now you are like, yes, you look good. This is awesome. Wait a minute. I know this was $700. And then at that point, all I needed you to do was give me that reassurance that what I did, which may not have been a irresponsible financial endeavor for me, but that doesn't mean it'll work for you. So I know that's a funny example, but I see it all the time on social media. People want people that agree. I am more interested in watching the people that embrace opposition. And I love that because they make it an intentional effort to show you this is why I feel the way that they do. One of my favorite individuals, she is not perfect. I won't use her name, but she is okay with going against the grain. She will debate, but she's coming with facts. And though you may not like it, she provides the information where you cannot dispute it because it is what it is. Um, you need to surround yourself, like Dr. Ellison said, with people who will tell you the truth. There's reasons why a lot of businesses have advisors, typically external people like Dr. Ellison and ourselves. We are external entities. Our job is to come in and provide an unbiased perspective of what's going on in your organization so we can diagnose it, because we have nothing to gain other than to help you grow and improve your processes and reach those goals. Let me not give you a business spiel because you should know at this point, but we don't do you any justice just coming in and telling you what you want to hear. So why do you want to carry that dead weight? How does that help you grow? And so time is so of the essence and it's so limited, and I just don't have it to give to be put in spaces where I'm not growing. And if that means some people have to not like what I'm doing or what I'm saying, as long as I can back it up and stand on how I feel and present it as not just an opinion, but also back it up with some fact, then I'm good. And I'm good. I mean, Ti, he was absolutely right in his perspective, and this is somebody who is a very seasoned rapper. He has been in the industry for a very long time. Roland Martin is a new face, and they're coming together from uh, two different industries and providing input, and it flows. You just naturally respect it, not because he said it, but because you witnessed him go through it. He's practicing, or he's preaching what he's already practiced and went through. Sorry, Dr. Allison. Went on my tangent.
Well, I think enough has definitely been said on this topic. If you can't tell by now, we're just very passionate about making sure that, um, as far as your professionalism and your personal life, that you don't get derailed because of disinformation, and just being mindful that there are people out there that are deliberately misinforming you or giving false and inaccurate information just because they themselves have failed to inform themselves completely. And I'll leave by re-emphasizing Isaiah chapter 28, verse 15b. Let us not be like the people who said the coming destruction can never touch us, for we have built a strong refuge made of lies and deception.
Mm,
Dr. Burks.
that's a mic drop. There's nothing else that needs to be said. I think we have given you as many seeds that you can take and hopefully apply and really understand that we are speaking from personal experience, and we genuinely want you to avoid some of the same mistakes that we have made or the experiences that we have seen people have, so that you can just be more intentional and mindful when you move forward and you choose to take in. It's either you are receiving truth or you are receiving a fallacy, but it is your responsibility to be able to determine the one of the two that you are receiving. So there's nothing more from me. Thank you, Dr. Allison, for your time. It's been a pleasure as always. You all can find us on our social media. It is at Be Professional Consultancy. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube, and we are also on LinkedIn. Can always reach out to us. We love to hear feedback. We would love for these to be interactive conversations. So again, we embrace if you disagree with something we said, let's have a conversation about it. And in the meantime, stay safe. Please stay safe. I hope you enjoyed your holidays. Be safe going into the new year. And remember to be professional.